Good morning, New York. We are coming at you live from Times Square. I'm Danielle Westbury.
Hi, I'm Regina Phalange. On today's episode, we'll be talking about government intervention in the economy happening now, or the progressive era. Progressivism is a variety of responses to the economic and social problems rapid industrialization introduced to America. It originally began as a social movement, but now has become a political movement.
We have two special reports for the audience today.
Yes, we do, and then we have 2 interviews for you all, as well as critics giving their opinions on topics we will discuss.
Now for our first report from Bill Biggins.
Danielle, I'm Bill Biggins, and I'll be talking to you about the Elkins Act today. The Elkins Act of 1903 is a U.S. federal statute. The act is an addition to the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887. The object of the act is to eliminate businesses with unfair business practices. This act imposes heavy fines on railroads offering rebates and on the shippers accepting them. The act brought an end to the common practice of granting rebates by the railroad companies to their valuable customers. The Elkins Act couldn't stop railroads from charging high shipping prices, as long as those practices were published. When 24 Western railroads all raised rates significantly, up to 50% at the same time, it shocked the administration of William Taft. His attorney general threatened antitrust prosecution against the offending price hikers. This spurred Congress to pass another amendment to the Interstate Commerce Act, the Mann-Elkins Act, 1910. The Mann-Elkins Act gave the ICC power to set maximum freight rates. This ICC also gained the right to suspend any changes to freight charges for up to 10 months, so that the agency could study existing rates.
And now here's our second report from Olivia Hotson.
Good morning, Regina. I'm Olivia Hudson here talking about the Hepburn Act of 1906. The Hepburn Act is a United States federal law that gives the interstate commerce maximum railroad rates and extends its jurisdiction. This should lead to discontinuation of free passes to loyal shippers. The Act lays down specific methods of procedure and imposed penalties for non-observance of the provisions of the Act.
That's some great information, Olivia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now time for our first interview held with Kelsey Smith interviewing Theodore Roosevelt.
What is the Meat Inspection Act?
Well, it prohibits the sale of adulterated or misbranded livestock and derived products as food and ensured that livestock was slaughtered and processed under sanitary conditions.
Excellent. Why did you sign the bill to enact the Meat Inspection Act?
I did it for the people. American chemist Harvey W. Wiley, chief of the Bureau of Chemistry of the USDA, issued a report noting the health hazards posed by the alteration of processed foods, such as canned meat and biochemicals used as preservatives and coloring agents. I knew that is unacceptable for the citizens in our nation.
What do you know about the book called The Jungle?
I actually don't know much about Upton Sinclair's book other than it's a big factor that pushed Congress into investigations and ultimately approving the act. Sinclair became a worker in the stockyards for the purpose of gathering information that he would later use in his book, The Jungle. It exposed the unsanitary conditions under which workers worked in the packing plants.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was an honor to talk to you today, but I'm afraid we don't have time for any more questions. Thank you again, and I will be interviewing Florence Kelly, the founder of the National Consumers League. How are you, Florence?
Good, thank you for having me.
What is the National Consumers League?
Well, it's essentially a fight for the welfare of consumers and workers who had little voice or power in the marketplace and workplace. Many of NCL's goals, such as establishment of a minimum wage and the limitation of working hours, directly benefited the poor working women.
Amazing. What is the NCL Constitution?
Well, it's a document that states how we are concerned that goods be produced and distributed at reasonable prices in adequate quantity, but under fair, safe, and healthy working conditions that foster quality products for consumers and decent standard of living for workers.
What are your plans for the future?
Will hopefully continue as a broad-based consumer protection and advocate organization and play a role in obtaining federal workplace safety standards and unemployment compensation. And maybe in the future provide advice and aid to victims to types of fraud coming from a fancy electrical device with a solicitor on the other end.
That's sweet. Thank you for coming in today. Now back to Regina. How about those interviews? How cool.
I'll say, up next on today's broadcast, we have two critics on set with us giving their opinions, good and bad, about the government stepping in our economy. First up, Sally Earing with the good. Hello, Sally. Good morning, Danielle. In my opinion, the government should step in and protect the people of our nation with these acts. They help ensure the people obtain food that is healthy and up to code to prevent illness or other things that can come from bad food. It also keeps the big businesses in order, so they know their limits as well. Amazing. What do you have to say about this statement? Jackie Hand, who is claiming that it is bad for the nation. Good morning, Danielle. In my opinion, the government should step in and protect the people of our nation with these acts. They help ensure the people obtain food that is healthy and up to code to prevent illness or other things that can come from bad food. It also keeps the big businesses in order, so they know their limits.
Thank you
as
for the
well.
warm introduction, Danielle. I believe these acts aren't keeping our businesses in order, it's hurting them because now they have to go through tedious work to try and make their food perfect. And if they slip up, the government just swoops in and causes a massive headache to the business, as well as a massive hole in their wallet. All they're trying to do is make a profit. What's so wrong about that?
Interesting statement indeed. However, that's all the time we have for our critics. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you. Now I'm sure you're all waiting for our last segment, the highlight reel.
Good morning. My name is Bill Biggins, and I'm going to review the best parts of our broadcast. First, Bill Biggins showed us what the Elkins Act was all about and provided us with great information. Then, Olivia Hodgson talked about the Hepburn Act. She sounds really familiar. I think I know her from outside the news station. Then, we had 2 live interviews with the President Theodore Roosevelt and Florence Kelly. Finally, we asked the critics to join us and give their opinions. Thank you for watching.